All right, looks like we're live. I'm here with my frequent sidekick, Artistic Layman,
Hello, everyone.
who's currently operating with Xerxes internet connection. So he's going to be a little in and out. Um, so, a few things I want to talk about tonight. Um, to, this is kind of interesting. Total Biscuit died. What was it? Yesterday, I think. Um, and obviously, you had a bunch of SJWs here last few days, just outright dancing on the man's grave. And part of me wants to say like that's fucked up, but at the same time, like I don't even know if it's morally reprehensible to shit on somebody after they die, or if it's just rude. I mean, death kind of makes liars of us all. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, a day ago you could be like, "Oh, I hate that guy," and then he dies, and like, "Oh, it's so sad." When you don't really give a fuck. It's just things we feel like we're supposed to say. Me personally, I didn't particularly like Total Biscuit. I never found him entertaining. I never found that the appeal of that guy at all. And he's one of those guys that like I only know about him at all because he fucking, kind of sided with Gamergate early on. But he's one of those guys that like half-ass sided with Gamergate. And then I mean, if memory serves, and then sort of like pussied out of it really, really early on as soon as it was actually he was taking heat, sort of like Boogie. Um, Which, well, I guess it's better than say being Jim Sterling about it, but I don't know. I don't. I'm not glad the guy's dead, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, "Oh, I miss him. Oh, it was so terrible. Oh, whatever." And I know somebody in the chat mentioned it. He pulled that shit where he like got on somebody's ass about misgendering and other faggot shit like that. Oh, and funny enough, he was arguing with somebody on Twitter years ago, and said get cancer and die, and everyone's been throwing that tweet around. How
Oops.
ironic. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not like I haven't told people, get cancer and die, or get AIDS and die, or something. So if if that happens to me, touche, God. I don't know. um, well, one of the things I was thinking. Now, people can correct me if I'm wrong because I don't know a tremendous amount about this guy because I don't give a shit. Again, not happy he's dead. I'm sure it's terrible for his wife and all that good stuff. Whatever, condolences, I suppose. Um, but I just found myself thinking, like, because I'm pretty sure he was all fedora. He strikes me as having like your typical, he strikes me as someone that would fit right in with the liberal list. Let me put it that way. And I just have to wonder, like, how how do you face death like that? I can't imagine what how terrifying it must be in your last conscious moments. Um, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine facing life as an atheist, let alone facing death. And I don't know. Maybe he wasn't. I don't. Like I said, I don't know a tremendous amount about the guy, and I'm not trying to pick on him. You know. You know. It most people don't like to kick people when they're down, and you're not much further down than when you're 6 feet under. Um, but at the same time, I mean, like that meme there, the version of the Lost comic. Yeah, I'm gonna fucking laugh at that because it's funny. Um, but it is what it is, I suppose. Like I said, I never had any real. I never got the guy's appeal. I would love to somebody who's a fan like to come on the show and be like, "What?" So I can be like, "Why the fuck did you like this?"
I also never had a desire to actually seek him out because I've never seen anything that's worthwhile.
Well, part of it's he's always doing like PC gaming, almost exclusive PC type things, and I don't give a shit. I mean, I don't even know how much of a real fucking gamer I am anymore. It's like I play Nintendo games. That's all I give a shit about anymore in the gaming industry. Um, if Nintendo didn't currently exist as a company, I'd be exclusively retro. I mean, If somebody gave me a PS4, it would probably just collect dust. The only reason I wouldn't take it immediately to the game store and trade it in would just be, feeling like that's rude to do that to a gift. Somebody says, why did he get mad over the trap question again? It was something about, misgendering is wrong or something. Somebody asked it. I remember what it was now. Somebody asked him at a con as like a joke meme question, like, are traps gay? And he starts in on like, that's homophobic, bro, and shit like that or whatever. Like a big old faggot. Big old virtue signaling faggot. Like I said, I mean, I'm not glad. Like there are people, there are e-celebs that if they die tomorrow, I'll be on here and we'll play that song "Celebrate Good Times Tonight" or some shit like that. Like like if Movie Bob dies between now and the big Saturday show, you better believe it's gonna be "Let's Piss on Movie Bob's Fresh Grave" for 2 hours. A couple other like Jim Sterling. Jim Sterling's pure fucking evil. I will roast a marshmallow over the fires of hell that burn him for all eternity. All right. Well, yeah, there's the faggot tweet or whatever. Same with fucking Spoonie. Fuck Spoonie. Fuck Spoonie. I ever hear that Spoonie finally gathers up the balls to off himself, I'm going to be on every form of social media that I'm on going, told you. So while I do think, being respectful of the fresh dead is a good general principle, there are times that it's an exception. So I'm not going to hop on all these feminists and say, oh, how dare you say this stuff? Because, like I said, there's plenty of people that would be hypocritical of me because there's plenty of people that if they died, I'd piss on their fresh grave. I will say that some of that basically what these feminists were saying about him was fucking wrong. Like one of them was running her mouth on Twitter about how he was a violent anti-feminist. Look at this softball of foot. Look at this softball of soy and tell me he's ever been violent to anything.
Well, when he's clean shaven like that, he could be interpreted as someone dangerous.
Yeah, well, he wasn't violent. He wasn't violent. Okay? Like I said, it's all. I'm not gonna sit here, like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and act like, oh, well, it's just, it's thoughts and prayers, whatever. I don't care. I don't really give a shit. I more found this an interesting segue to just talk about death itself. Is frankly why I brought it up. Yeah, I never found him entertaining. Somebody said, you guys hear that Tommy Robertson got put away? I'm not even 100% sure on who that was. I know it's something like he got put away because, he, I don't know, said maybe Muslims aren't great or maybe white people have a right to exist. One of those kinds of hate speech things. He's somewhere in Europe. He got put away for that.
Let's see. Tommy Robinson arrested for breaching the peace, quote unquote, outside court during grooming trial.
Oh yeah, it was about the grooming thing. That's right. Like I said, I didn't know. I'm not sure I've ever heard that guy's name before I heard everyone talking about him getting arrested. So I can't really comment much on it. Somebody says, why are all the pre-Gamergate gaming commentators always ended up being big soy? I'm not going to say all of them. Pat, the NES Punk, is still pretty decent. Angry Video Game Nerd, solid. JonTron, yeah. I mean, I almost consider him general comedy at this point than gaming, but yeah, a lot of them. Even the worst ones were the half-assed supporters of Gamergate, and then they whatever guys like him and Boogie and stuff like. So yeah, I'm whatever. I'm not going to sit here and act like, oh, we lost the giant today. Whatever. All right. So,
But why?
uh,
Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
all right, Luke. Can you put up? And by the way, that one barely works. So this probably you don't have enough connection for the soundboard tonight. That started to break apart at the end there. All right. So something else I want to talk to you, and I'll probably just check out the chat for a bit. Um, Luke, could you bring up this picture of Spider-Man? I would like to let everybody know that this is actual art in an actual Marvel comic that Marvel actually published and expect actual people to hand actual fucking money over for. Now, can you bring up the full page?
In just a second.
Now, the full page is shit too. But this is the worst part. This is the worst part. And we're gonna roast this in a minute here. But I do want to be fair and go with the context here. Okay, so if you can't read the thing here, Spider-Man is basically it's a back and forth, and he has he's sort of hinting around like to something, and then Doctor Strange like says, "Do you want me to cast a spell where you could talk to spiders?" Right? And then he sort of you get that face, and it's supposed to be like it's supposed to be the straight guy and the goofy guy kind of comedy routine. And that's not necessarily a bad idea. It's just incredibly botched. The writer actually said he wanted the reference for that face to be like that meme of the dog um, that tells the bad joke and then has that face or whatever. Um, Now let's go close up on this face here for a minute. That is not like get it? You're like kind of. What that is that's the soy boy Bugman fucking smile. Okay, that's the guy who gets his picture taken with his new Nintendo Switch. All right. In fact, that is the picture that what that is right there is that's MJ just gave him a new Nintendo Labo kit to play with while she goes and fucks Luke Cage. That's what that picture is right there. All right. There, yeah, there we go. That's what that picture is. All right. That's the picture of if you get your powers from a radioactive soybean. Bugman does whatever a tranny can. So he says, that's real. I thought that was a joke. No, that was published in an actual issue of Doctor Strange. I it really breaks my heart. Um, what the fuck has been done to Spider-Man? Really post One More Day, but especially under SJW Marvel. The absolute unlikable soy boy fucking man child he has become. Um, I mean, he was always a goofy character that liked to make jokes, but damn it, when I started reading comic books, Spider-Man was a man. He was married. He had fucking balls. He didn't have the Nintendo Switch smile ever. Damn it. The just unlikable fucking man child he has turned into. Even during like when Bendis did New Avengers, and a lot of people argued Spider-Man was regressed to a bit of a man child there. I remember back in the day, a lot of people on like and comic boards and shit were arguing that, and I didn't even think so at the time. I thought he was just very clearly written as the jokey character, you know. Um, there's a lot of really great comedic lines in the early New Avengers issues. Um, but this is just I remember one issue, and it was in the late '90s. It was shortly after the Clone Saga, and there's a time period right after the Clone Saga and before the John Byrne relaunch. When about 97, 98, when Spider-Man books were really fucking great. They hit a great stride then. Um, but he's meeting up with some detective because he's working with this police detective on something, and they're meeting in I think like a graveyard. It's like snowing, just perfect mood setting and all. And a detective lights up a smoke because back then you could smoke in Marvel Comics. That's another thing they won't show anymore, by the way. Fun fact: they will not show. This is actually not even a recent thing. Joe Quesada pushed this in the mid 2000s, but they won't show smoking in Marvel Comics anymore. There's lots of characters like Wolverine, Ben Grimm, the thing from the Fantastic Four, Nick Fury, and all. They used to smoke cigars constantly. Kingpin used to smoke those big long like fucking cigarettes in the big long holders or whatever. Like characters used to fucking smoke, and they won't show that anymore. But there's this line in the detective, he's lighting up a cigarette, and there's like this really little thin strand of webbing that hits like right at the end of the cigarette and puts it out. And then you pan over to Spider-Man, and he says something like, cigarette smoke makes me sneeze, and you don't want to know what it's like to sneeze in a full space mask. Like I said, Spider-Man was a man, Yeah, he was kind of a goofy, jokey guy, and all that kind of stuff. And he was a bit of an outcast, bit of even among fellow heroes, bit of a nerd. But he was a man. He was capable. He knew what the hell he was doing. He wasn't a joke. He wasn't a little bitch. I remember in Secret Wars, there's actually a scene where he basically curb stomps like all the X-Men. Like just single-handedly, there's curb stomps the shit out of them. And I mean, there were only like 4 or 5 of them there, I think, in Secret Wars. But he just like Wolverine tries to jump at him from behind, and because of his spider sense and all, he literally just backhands him in a room without even totally turning around, and calls him a joke. Like I remember he just back when we actually had him married, heaven fucking forbid. We actually had some writers that knew how to write a relationship, and he joking and flirting with his wife and all that stuff. There's some line where she's like waiting for him outside, she's waiting for him in some public kind of space, and he comes up and she's like pissed that he's late. And he comes up behind her and he's like, "Hey, baby, them pants painted on?" And then she turns around and she's in like, it doesn't even miss a beat. She's like, "You better watch it, mister. I'm married." And he says, "Oh, that's no problem. So am I." There it is. There's the thing. He just backhand. He barely looks at him. Get the fuck out of my face, you smelly little Canadian. Yeah, you can't. One issue I remember, and again, I think it might have been one of the last ones where we had smoking. But there's a running kind of, I don't want to say story, but or theme or anything like that. But there's this every once in a while, a bunch of superheroes get together for a poker game that Ben Grimm from the Fantastic Four hosts, right? And there's one bit in there where like the Kingpin shows up to one of these, and it's an issue of Spectacular Spider-Man, and he ends up having some sort of bet with the Kingpin where like he'd leave town if the Kingpin won or something like that. I can't remember, and it was like $1 million that's going to charity or something, and I just remember at the end of it, because all the superheroes except I think like Wolverine and Thing would always like play for charity, and he takes like he's got this huge stack of money that like Mr. Fantastic or something's counting at the end of it, and And he swipes like a 20 off the top of it, and he goes, "I'm sure they won't miss that." And then like the next panel, you see he's bought like flowers for Mary Jane or something, swinging on home. Like they used to actually write him as a man. You know, they used to actually write these characters with a little bit of fucking character. It's such a shame what the fuck's happened to him. And not to sound like Davis, but I think one of the early death kneels was getting rid of the smoking in comics. Not because I'm a fan of smoking. I think I don't mind the smell of like cigars or really like good hand-rolled cigarettes, that kind of thing, actual tobacco. But like that shit that you buy at the gas station, it's mostly like rat poison and tar. That stuff smells like shit, okay? Like nobody's allowed to smoke in my car or in my home or anything like that because of that. It just stinks. Stinks to high heaven. That said, though, again, you know, characters are meant to have vices. You know, characters should have character to them, damn it. And it especially makes sense that somebody like Wolverine, for example, doesn't give a fuck about smoking. You know, what's Wolverine gonna fucking get cancer? The constantly regenerating mutant's gonna get fucking lung cancer? He doesn't care. If anything, you ought to probably write Wolverine as a hard drug user. Guy could smoke crack, it wouldn't hurt him. So he says, not that I want anything to be soy, but smoking pipes and stealing is good. I don't think it's like that. If you're talking about the playing for charity thing, I don't think that's stealing. I think that's just taking out of the money you won, you donated all of it but $20 to charity. I think his line even was like, I need 20 for cab fare, which is, you know, funny because he just fucking swinging around everywhere. Wolverine lighting a cigar on the thing. Yeah, I mean he won like a few $1 million from the Kingpin and donated all of it but $20 to charity. Like I said, it's a damn shame what the hell's been done to the it's a shame what's just been done to entertainment in general. Like I said, imagine going back in time and saying this is what the Thundercats is now. Tumblr cat soy.
Everything is all cartoons are Tumblr these days.
It sucks. No getting around it. Superman smoking 40 fucking cigars.
Gotta make a smoke screen.
Somebody says, outside of Deadpool, are there any anti-heroes with vice anymore? Not really. I don't know. I mean, maybe Daredevil constantly, you know, for being a Catholic guy, Daredevil sure does run with the loose women a lot. Let me put it that way.
Wait, Storm from X-Men also smoked?
She might have. I wasn't aware of that. But then again, I was never a huge X-Men fan.
But enough of these games. I did not become Storm for my own amusement.
By the way, fun fact about Storm: Dracula wants to fuck her.
What?
I'm not making this up. This is Marvel comics are weird. So there is a Dracula in the Marvel universe, right? Dracula exists in the Marvel universe. There was a series, Tomb of Dracula, actually, which ran for a long time. It's where Blade first premiered. So there is a Dracula in the Marvel universe, and he's actually a pretty prominent character, and it's not a bad depiction of the character either. Now you would think that a character like Dracula would obviously he fights Blade primarily, but you would think he'd fight like Doctor Strange a lot, maybe the Avengers, right? For some reason, for the longest time, Dracula, if he wasn't fighting Blade, he was fighting Spider-Man or the X-Men. And specifically, he was constantly trying to make Storm his bride. So that's fun fact. Dracula really, really wants to fuck Storm. Let's see. Somebody says, what about Venom? I don't really know that Venom has any real vices.
Well, mostly Venom's an alien, so I guess the question would be what's his name?
Eddie Brock, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really think Eddie. I'll tell you what, though, back in the 90s, Eddie Brock had the most amazing haircut ever. It was the most mullet that ever mullet. In fact, I bet you in the Marvel universe they call that haircut the Brock now. Like that. That's not even like no. He had, if you look up like right around like Lethal Protector time, he had fucking crew cut in the front, long hair in the back, kind of mullet. I mean, it was like Joe Dirt level mullet, and he was rocking it for so long. There were a lot of mullets in comics in the 90s, by the way. The 90s comic mullet is actually considered like Superman had a mullet for a while. A lot of guys got a lot of guys with long hair. But no, Brock didn't just have kind of a long hair sort of mullet. Brock had the most mullet that ever mulleted, all right? Eddie Brock had the most fucking mullet ever.
The most mullet I ever saw was one character from from Spider-Man. See if I can find a picture of him.
Might have been Eddie Brock. I don't know.
Well, it wasn't Eddie Brock at the time. It was the guy who was helping out Kingpin in exchange for being able to have his hover chair.
Oh yeah, that guy. He got turned into some weird mutant monster. Yeah, that's basically the haircut. Fucking Brock had for a while there.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, just straight up crew cut, like sharp crew cut in the front and then all long in the back. Just straight. Just doesn't get any more fucking 90s than that. You can almost hear Billy Ray Cyrus music when you look at that haircut. Well, yeah, lots of guys went all long hair. Like there's the fucking Superman went all semi mullet for a while. Yeah, the 90s comic mullet, man, that was a huge thing. So he says Eddie Brock was in a drug abuse. Yeah, he was kind of a druggie in his pre-Venom days. One of the earlier ideas for Venom, because they had the black costume and they weren't sure like what they were going to do with it exactly when Spider-Man lost it. One of the earliest ideas was Venom was originally going to be a chick, and the human host was going to be some chick who like she's one of those people that like got caught in the crossfire of a superhero battle, like rubble from a building or something fell on her, and it caused her to miscarriage. And that was going to be like, she's going to be all pissed about that, and that was going to be why she hated Spider-Man. But there was actually, at the time, people didn't want a big prominent Spider-Man villain to be a chick. They just weren't sure on that. They're like, no, we think this is going to, we want this to be a dude. And to some extent, I kind of agree with that for the simple fact that Venom is sort of meant to be Spider-Man's kind of evil mirror in a sense, sort of Spider-Man's version of Bizarro or Reverse Flash, as it were. So having it be a chick does sort of lessen that. And to answer your question, there are not really any prominent Spider-Man villains that are chicks. There's really not.
Yeah, I
aside from
honestly couldn't
Black
think of
Cat.
one.
Aside from Black Cat, if you're willing to count that.
Well, yeah, but she's not really a villain, though.
Yeah, that's why I said if you're willing to count that. I mean, there are a good amount of Spider-Man female villains, just none that anyone really gives a shit about. That's why, like, if you ever been to the Spider-Man Universal ride, like at Islands of Adventure, which I actually highly recommend if you ever go there. In fact, if you're in the area, enjoy it now before I'm sure Disney is eventually going to have it torn down to move all that shit over to them. But there's a Spider-Man ride, and one of the villains is a character named Scream, who never even had a name in the comics. The name Scream comes from the game Separation Anxiety. But it's this chick that's bonded with one of the symbiotes that spawned off Venom. And it basically looks like a yellow girl Carnage. And she was not a prominent character in the comic at all. I mean, she's more of a Venom villain than Spider-Man. I can't really remember that many times she's actually encountered fucking Spider-Man. But she was included as one of the villains in it just because they wanted a female villain. She does look pretty cool. I mean, there never really was any kind of character to her, but, you know, it is a cool character design. Let's see. Let's go through the chat here. Anything going on in the chat? Not really much. But then again, it's 1 o'clock on a Friday night. Yeah. Somebody says 10 out of 10 would bang. Just don't want to get head from it. Not with them teeth. Let's see. Yeah, I couldn't believe that fucking panel. It's like that is a real panel in a real Marvel comic. How about that?
I don't really follow comics. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's not an appropriate shot.
making me pine for the days of fucking Rob Liefeld.
Ugh.
I mean, Rob was a hack artist, and he was a fucking douche. But at least he wasn't. First of all, he wasn't trying to destroy Western civilization like so many of these SJWs. Rob was never gonna. He would never have drawn that.
He wasn't Poison. That's the thing.
The difference between Rob Liefeld and the Marvel Comics creators now is like the difference between DSP and like Movie Bob. You know what I mean? Like Rob Liefeld is a shithead, whereas someone like even Mark Waid now is evil, is a bad person. Okay. Rob Liefeld's just kind of a shithead, and it's fun to laugh at him. But we were better off with that.
Here's the contrast.
I'll take that over fucking. Yeah, what would you rather have? Well, I got to tell you, I'd rather have neither. But I'll take the fucking dumb, stupid, Rob Liefeld shit.
But it is rather sad that would actually be our option to choose between the lesser of the best of the less.
Well, I remember James on here. Him and I argued, and he was all like, everyone rejecting all this stupid shit from the 90s. Well, now look what we got. And I'm like, okay, I see your point there, but the problem with that is there was a whole decade between now and the 90s, and that decade was actually pretty bitching for comics. The 2000s were a pretty good decade for comics, at least creatively. Yeah, they were suffering from the low sales after the crash of the 90s, the late 90s, but they were picking up slowly. Yeah, the Ultimate Universe, at least prior to Jeff Loeb just running it into the dirt, was all good stuff. Ultimate X-Men is the only X-Men comic I ever really followed for any length of time. I followed that for over 150 issues. Ultimate Spider-Man was great back in the day. Ultimates, JMS's Spider-Man run was fantastic. Up until that Sins Past storyline, that was shit. Basically, the entire decade of Avengers was fantastic. You had the Avengers Justice League crossover even. Over at DC, you had stuff like Identity Crisis. Jeff Jones making the Justice Society of all things relevant again. Amazing stuff being done by Jeff Jones on The Flash. Jeff Jones did so much amazing things for Green Lantern. He added things to the Green Lantern mythos that seems so obvious it's hard to imagine it took that long for him to come about. Stuff like basically all the colored lanterns except, Sinestro's yellow ring is what Jeff Jones gave us. He gave us Blackest Night, which was amazing. There was awesome fucking shit during the 2000s. Hell, Civil War, Winter Soldier. Half of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's stories have come from the 2000s, believe it or not. So Captain America 2 and 3 are mid 2000 stories. It's the 2000s were a great decade for comics, but now not so much. I'd say right around 2012 is when stuff turned to real shit. I guess it was, when Obama got reelected and just every leftist in the culture decided to just crank the dial up to 11. Like they figured they totally won at this point. Bechtloff, have you considered inviting diversity in comics for a chat? I'd be willing to have him on here. It's just I don't really know how to get in touch with the guy. I could message him on YouTube, but YouTube is, nobody checks fucking YouTube messages because they're buried behind 8 fucking clicks you got to get to do it. And
you get no notifications of them.
Yeah, nobody, no notifications or anything like that. Come to think of it, I haven't checked my YouTube messages on either channel. I haven't checked it on the new channel ever. I don't remember the last time I checked it on the Bechtloff channel. I wouldn't mind having him on, but being cut off of Twitter, especially, it makes it hard to get in touch with people. I mean, yeah, thankfully Luke's running a Twitter, but there's only, if you're not following the Twitter, it's twitter.com/ it's at Bechtloff Podcast, but yeah, I wouldn't mind having him on. I'd love to have him on, but he's not really in my circle. Bechtloff, do you remember the character Typeface from Spider-Man? Yeah, that was Paul Jenkins created him, and not JMS was running on Amazing Spider-Man, but I think the writer Paul Jenkins was on. I think it was Peter Parker Spider-Man or something was the other one. Yeah, goofy, dumb fucking character. It was like some weird vigilante dude who had like some motif of, like letters all over his body or something. Yeah, he sort of went away and everyone stopped caring about him.
He has bling.
Yeah, like he had like a knife, like pee and shit like that, and like just. I think part of the gag with him though was like he wanted to be a vigilante and kill people, and kill bad guys, and he just couldn't really think of a fucking motif. Yeah.
He's like the Riddler in the Batman Forever movie, the Puzzler, the Gamester, Captain Kill, Question Mark Man. I'll go with that one.
There's an issue of Spider-Man's Tangled Web in which the whole premise is somebody wanted to be Typeface's sidekick, and it was somebody who actually took his MO his like his costume seriously and wanted to be like he was some sort of weird grammar Nazi sidekick or something that was trying to be a sidekick. Well, I'm probably going to go ahead and wrap this up. Let me go ahead and real quick, I'm going to put a link to the Discord in the chat. If any of you are not on the Discord, go ahead and check it out. A lot of good stuff on there. And tomorrow night, or I should say later tonight, since here on the East Coast at least, it is technically Saturday. We'll have the regular show at 8 p.m. Eastern, so do check that out. I might be doing a little bit extra stuff this weekend, streaming-wise, just because I have a 3-day weekend. I have Monday off. Monday's not paid because I'm still, a temp at that place, so that kind of sucks, but it's also nice having it off, so I can't bitch too much. If you enjoy the show, folks, if you enjoy the content I put out, do check out the the Patreon. Become a regular supporter of the PayPal. You can send a one-time donation, and there's the Amazon wish list. Somebody just got me the one book called Slash of the Titans, which is a behind-the-scenes look at the development hell that Freddy vs. Jason was in. And I just wrapped up Jordan Peterson's book, so I'll have a review of that on the show tonight, tomorrow night, whatever. Actually, you know what? Aaron Clary, you want to hop in? Because I see him in the chat there. Okay, so Aaron Clary wants to hop in, and he has some autism he'd like to share with us all. Boom. All right, I'm gonna let Aaron in. We're not wrapping up the show. We're gonna let Aaron in because Aaron's listening. He wanted to hop in, so he's coming in here with some anti-mall propaganda. Hey, Aaron, what's up?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right. Yeah. What's this now? You're pining for the malls in the days of yore and housewives from the 50s or something?
Yes, I still miss the mall. The mall was a wonderful thing.
Hey,
could be again.
Before we go further, do I have your permission to download this and put it as a segment on my own podcast?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
All right, everybody say lots of swear words because this is now on Aaron's show. So,
so now, okay. What I understand your argument for the mall, but where have I angered you or incurred your wrath?
Oh no, I was just busting your balls because like you had some blog post and you were like, a lot of people if they come to the Twin Cities, they're going to want to do something lame like go to Mall of America. And I'm like, I want to go to Mall of America,
but that's what everybody does. It's the same old mall. Well, there's still malls left in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, but this is a giant ass fucking mall.
It's okay. Take your biggest mall you have. What's the biggest mall in Philly? Like, is it out by King of Prussia or something like that?
Probably King of Prussia.
Okay. Go walk around that 3 times. It's the same thing. It's the same stores. Admittedly, there is an amusement park in the center of the mall, but it's kind of a scaled down version. It's not like you're going off of these crazy roller coasters that like Syndicate Chief goes off on. But it's the same thing. It's basically 4 donuts on top of each other. You walk around in a circle, go down the escalator, walk around in a circle, go down the escalator. And they got, back in the day, I haven't been there in probably a decade, but back in the day, they had Suncoast Videos. I'm sure that's gone. They have your Cinnabon. They have your King Julius. And that's it. I don't even think they got a comic book store there now that I think about it.
Oh, a mall that size. I bet you it has a comic book store.
I think I even looked it up once for you because I am an asshole, of course. And we were going past the mall. I'm like, I wonder if there's so I did look, and I'm pretty sure there isn't. Because then I looked at like different comic book stores in the Twin Cities. And we have a shockingly poor selection of comic book stores in the Twin Cities. But
I'm amazed at how many I have in this area. Middle of fucking nowhere like I am. And I got like 3 decent ones within like a half an hour of me.
It'd be very curious to see what like the gross municipal product or the regional GDP is. Where if there's that many comic books in that small, far-flung, settlement you live in, where you're still fighting off the Indians, I'd imagine that comic books would account for 10% of GDP if you have 3 of them out there.
Yeah, there's 3.
Okay, all right.
Now the one is actually a retro game store and a comic book store. But yeah, counting that, there's 3.
All right. Well, if you ever come out here, I'll take you to they got like one of those old video game parlors where it's like an arcade classic. They got Pac-Man and Galaga and all that. That's pretty cool. They got a bar like that out here. I'll drop you off at the mall. I'll give you some spending money, and you could, you just let me know what time you want me to pick you and your friends up. Although, well, go ahead. I got to tell you
the one thing you always say that just drives me up the wall is we don't need malls because you could just order stuff online.
Yeah, we don't need malls because.
But I don't go to the mall to buy shit. I go to the mall because it's somewhere to be. I want there to be places we can go and hang out and be sociable is what I want.
Right, but when's the last time you did that with a mall?
Oh man.
See, because now here's the thing.
Okay. You know what? I actually do go to King of Prussia Mall, which is about maybe an hour from me. I actually do go to that once in a while, just for somewhere to go, somewhere to be. That is a really nice mall. It has a comic book store, has a few other really nice things in it that aren't in every single place. I like that place. I go to that one. I actually don't go to the one right by me. The one that's like 20, 30 minutes away from me. I don't fucking go there at all anymore because there's nothing in there now. Even like, here's the thing. I don't dispute that most malls right now are shit. That's not what I'm saying. It's like, I want them to be good again. Make malls great again is what I want.
So like the late 80s, early 90s type of mall?
Hell, even into the late 90s, early 2000s, they were still decent. I have tons of memories and I went to high school late 90s, early 2000s. I have tons of great memories of, the mall was a great date place with me and my high school sweetheart. We'd hang out at the arcade, play some Marvel vs. Capcom, sneak out into the wooded area beside the mall and fuck, that kind of thing. It was a great,
standard childhood experience. Absolutely. Let's go to get an Orange Julius. Let's go buy a shirt. Hey, let's go in the woods and fuck. What 14-year-old boy hasn't had that experience? But my question is, let's say you went to the mall. Is it going to be the same thing as it was back then? Because right now, when I was a teenager, when I was middle school and on, the mall was the place to go. I mean, I don't know if you ever remember the show Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Were you too young for that?
I remember that.
Okay, that was it. You went to the mall. They're always going to the mall to meet the girl. And that's what, if you want to meet girls from a different school district, you would go to the mall because you would date through all the girls in your own school district. Or in my case, you had such a bad reputation, no one in your school district wanted to know. But thank God there was no interwebs, because then those dumb, naive girls in the school district over didn't know who you were. So you had a shot, man. You had a shot at getting a girl from, Menominee Falls if you went to Germantown. But now that I've gone to the mall, of course, I'm older now. I don't think that culture exists anymore. Even if you were like a 20-something or an adult, like, oh, let's go to the mall and hang out. That you need a critical mass of people, roughly your own age, going there to have kind of the psychology of, say, like a concert or a Oktoberfest or some kind of festival. Like, oh yeah, let's go to the mall, let's cruise the street. But it's not there anymore, simply because of the internet and people are all digital now. So I guess it's one of more practical. Yeah, I too would like the days of certain things to come back. But do you think it's actually coming back?
I mean, I wish. I don't know, but yeah, I don't like the idea of just well, we don't need the mall anymore because you can just order stuff online, and everybody thinks that, and I just think, well, no, we've missed something here. All right, we're missing something. I don't want to live where I get everything, where I just become like the guy in the Wally chair, and everything is delivered to me, and I get my videos streaming right in my face and shit like that.
So you're lamenting or ruining the town square, which I guess its last incarnation before we went all digital and got our smartphones, was the mall.
Yes.
Okay. So it was obviously, and I agree with you, back in the day, it wasn't anything like, hell, I didn't have money. I rarely spent any money at the mall. It was literally just to go a place to hang. But now that everything's digital, and let's be kind of clear about the virology or pathology or the order or the logic. The boys had no reason to go to the mall except maybe to hang with their buddies, play arcade games. But there usually had to be girls, and girls would normally go shopping there at the mall. Now, admittedly, a lot of that purchasing has gone online, but you'd be amazed here in the Twin Cities. I'm sure every major metro area, it's not like malls are dead. I mean, some of them have closed down, but here in Minnesota, shoot, the first indoor mall was built here in 1962 in the nation. The first indoor mall, because it's freaking cold outside. Southdale Mall, pretty sure it was built in 1962. So the malls are still going good. Some of them are reinventing themselves. The J.C. Penney moved out of one of the anchor stores that moved out. Now Lifetime Fitness has gone in. So I think there's still a pull there.
I've seen a lot of the ones that actually are still good. That they a big thing that's moving into a lot of them, and I love this, and I think, thank God for hipsters, as annoying as they are, they keep cool shit alive. Are things like barcades, and you see a lot of like old style arcades where the machines are free to play, but they charge you by the hour to be in there. I've seen quite a few of those pop up, and a lot of those are moving into malls. Retail is beginning to realize that to compete with the internet, they have to be somewhere to go, something to do. I will say though, the one thing that a brick and mortar store has over it now, because to some extent I did used to go to the mall to shop. I went to the bookstore, I went to the movie store, that kind of thing. Yeah, I wasn't interested in being in the shoe section with my girlfriend for 4 fucking hours. That was boring as hell. But yeah, I miss Borders. I miss having good bookstores. And the one thing that's really good about going to an actual store that you don't quite get as much online is that sometimes you just go into a place like that and you're not really looking for anything. You're just kind of killing time, and maybe something catches your eye. And that sort of browsing isn't that easy to do on Amazon. Like, Amazon's great when you know exactly what you're looking for. And occasionally the recommendations pan out or turn out well. But I love going to a bookstore and just walking around and saying, oh, I never even heard of this book. This looks good. Or you used to be able to do that at a movie store or something like that.
What I like, it's especially pronounced during the Christmas time, but I like walking through a mall, in part because it brought you back to when you were a little kid with Christmas, but I also like seeing all the wealth. Not that I'm going to buy it or there's rich people around, but you look at it's the opposite of Venezuela. Like, you go and you're like, look at this, look at that. I always liked the sharper image when I was younger, because you could like, hey, here's a vibrating chair. Holy shit. Who came up with this crazy idea in 1988? The Insta Globes and all that other stuff. It was cool to see, all right, what have humans created and how much have we created? I mean, look at all this stuff. Look at it all. So I think maybe on a psychological level, you feel like, oh, things are good. We have ample fruit. We have ample production.
I feel like the architecture of the mall even contributed that. Auntie Dem wrote a really good blog post a while ago about how he argued that, the death of the mall was almost the death of the future, that the future died and all we're left with is the current year. But, it is sort of the evolution of the town square, but we took the town square and we put it inside and climate controlled it.
Right.
There's something that just speaks to just the essence of progress there.
Well, have you been out to the Southwest much at all, or Southern, like Florida, or seen their malls?
Nope.
It's all outdoor. It's a different layout. It's nice, certainly nice. And it's simply, imagine if you put strip malls right next to each other, like the next street over is a strip mall, the next street over is a strip mall. So you have a city block basically of a mall, but it's not connected internally or by a skyway or underground passages or anything like that. And instead of your rank 1970s minimalist architecture box, it's very, very nice. But I think, again, that's more of a function of the environment. Up northern states, you obviously had to put them indoors.
There's something sort of like that out near Pittsburgh called the Waterfront. That's like along the edge of a river where there's like a big parking lot and then it's a like sort of semi-open almost mall.
Mhm.
And I only been there once back when I lived in Pittsburgh, but it was really really nice. And again, there's just something to that kind of architecture that just sort of pumps you up, gets you're just happy to be there. And a lot of the earlier malls from like the 70s and all do have shit architecture, but some of the ones from the 80s and 90s that pop up were just incredibly well laid out.
Well, and I'm not even concerned about the external architecture because let's just admit it.
Oh yeah, on the outside, a lot of them look like crap, but when you were inside it, it's like wow, this looks great.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's on display, and I don't even think I've ever bought anything at Nordstrom's, but when I would go to the Mall of America because it was new, you'd usually park by Nordstrom's because that's the highway we're coming off of. And I never would afford anything or buy anything, but just the layout, just like everything's glittery and pretty and nice and ornate, and you're just like, wow, this is really nice. This is and then you walk out and like, okay, I'm gonna go to the boot store or whatever. It's almost like not a museum, but an art museum. Like you could see or an art gallery where you could see some of the craftsmanship on display. So yeah, no, there's ancillary stuff, and I'm not arguing with you about the ancillary or the non-economic benefits of a mall. It's certainly worth going to, but I don't think they're dying as much as you think. I think maybe the spirit of being the town center is there. Because right now you go to the mall, it's just trophy wife shopping essentially.
Yeah, I think they were, and I think just overall there's a bit like I noticed just going to King of Prussia. I had gone like a few months after Trump was in office, and I noticed right away there was just the overall mood. The fact that it seemed as though maybe the adults were in charge again. People were spending more again. They were shopping more. They were going out and into the world a bit more. And we may see a bit of, I'm not going to say full economic recovery, but we may see a bit of a bounce back in the next years that'll help them all.
Well, I don't know what the malls are like in Pennsylvania, but they're packed now in the Twin Cities. Mall of America, even on a weekend, a nondescript weekend, doesn't have to be Memorial Day, nondescript. I had a buddy come into town. He, like the rest of you sheep, want to go to the mall. I'm like, okay, I'll drop you off the mall. We were queued up on the interstate, and there was no reason or cause for it. Unemployment's under 4%, so the economy is fully recovered. People are certainly spending their money again. Thankfully, they're not taking on as much debt, but we don't need an economics lessons. So maybe it's regionally depressed. I don't know. But out here, the malls are not suffering at all.
It's not bad out here. It's just the biggest problem. Park City is the one right in my county. And its biggest problem right now is it took a hit from the from the Obama years. And it's just got a little bit too much empty space in it. And there's just a certain momentum that if a mall ends up like that, nobody wants to get stores. Nobody wants to lease a store in a mall because nobody's leasing a store in that mall, Right. It just sort of becomes a feedback loop. And I worry that Park City's starting to fall into that. But just in general, things aren't bad around here. It's just.
Well, even if it wasn't economics, let's say the mall recovered economically. Your main complaint is not even necessarily that the malls are dying or that the stores aren't full. You're saying that there's no longer the social element to it. So again, like if you were to go to that mall, I don't know. Somebody said, somebody likes Def Leppard or The Who because they were getting a blowjob at one time. Now, if somebody was having sex in the wood, that may have biased him a little bit back in the days when malls were a social gathering. So in other words,
in all fairness, I loved the mall before that. But the thing about it, I miss them, but at the same time, I also recognize there's a lot of the stores I used to like to go to at the mall don't, I've either something like Spencer's or Hot Topic I've outgrown because I'm not a teenager anymore. But then there's really no good bookstores in it. I went to FYE to look for a movie a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago. And, there's this tiny little section of the store now dedicated to movies and music. and the rest is all a bunch of fucking garbage and gross Japanese candy and Funko Pops. So to some extent, a lot of the stores I used to want to go to either don't exist or aren't worth going to anymore.
So is there anything at a mall for you anymore? Like, yeah, there was something for a 15 or 16-year-old Bechtloff to go to, but now, I mean, is there, I understand there's like, comic book stores or something you're going to go into, but would you really wander around a mall, just for shits and giggles to hang out? I mean, you would also need a social. I mean, keep in mind back in high school, you had your buddies to hang out with. Now as a 31-year-old, 32-year-old guy, however old you are, I mean, I don't know, it'd be a little bit weird if you just went to some other 30-year-old dude, hey, you want to hang out in the mall? It'd be a little odd.
I still, like I said, I'll still go to King of Prussia, and there's actual stores I like to go in King of Prussia. There is a nice comic book store in there. There's actually a hot sauce store I love going into. Especially.
All right, see, now I'd go to that with you. That sounds awesome.
It's fucking fantastic. There's I got a pineapple Serrano hot sauce and a peach Serrano hot sauce bottle last time I was there. Great stuff, especially since I've started cooking more.
I should just go ahead. The closest hot store we got is down in Galena, Illinois. Although, no, they closed that one at the mall too. How about this? When you come up here to the Twin Cities, I'll take you to all the different major malls. We'll take you to the first original indoor mall, and we'll let you loose there like a ferret. We'll go to the Mall of America, and you can look at it in awe, and I'll play very orchestral music for you, and you can walk around and say, "Whoa, geez, there's a lot of Somalis in there," and then you'll come out, and then we'll hit all the other major ones. But yeah, I don't know if you did a trip to the Twin Cities, I think it'd be your faith in mallhood would be reinvigorated. You wouldn't be worrying about the malls because
I can't think of any other reason I'd go to the Twin Cities other than to see you or the Mall of America.
Yeah, there's not much here.
If I was going to travel somewhere specifically to go to a store, which isn't necessarily something I'm likely to do, I'd go to Colorado to see the big Mile High comic book store. I'd be more interested in that. And hell, I'm not even that into comics anymore. It'd just be awesome to see the biggest one in existence.
I was going to go visit. I was leaving Fort Collins on my way back home. I'm like, crap, I forgot to, because I was going to go and take a picture of it for you. But do you know where it is exactly? Is it in Denver proper, or is it in one of the burbs?
I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, they are. I mean, they're huge.
Okay. Well, if we
somebody said that they're like the size of, like, remember back in our day when there were Blockbuster videos?
I remember those.
You know how big those used to be?
Mm-hmm.
Like, imagine, like, somebody said it's like 1.5 of those.
Holy cow.
And it's just a comic book store.
Wow. That'd be awesome. I mean, that'd just be cool to see. I remember a cigar lounge down in Orlando, Florida, that was about the size of a Blockbuster video.
You know what comic book store is insanely disappointing that I've been to a couple of times?
Jay and Silent Bob's guy?
Yeah, the one Kevin Smith owns.
Yeah.
It's great if you want Kevin Smith merchandise. If you're actually interested in getting comic book stuff, it's pretty lame.
Well, it's kind of funny. Kevin Costner, when he starred in Dancing with Wolves, that was out in South Dakota, and he so fell in love with the area that he bought a casino in downtown Deadwood. And when you walked in, all it was Kevin Costner paraphernalia. There was posters of Kevin Costner, and Kevin Costner wore this belt. I'm like, shouldn't you at least be like dead or the status of John Wayne before you start having a casino in your homage? I just thinking maybe you're getting a little ahead of yourself.
I wonder if maybe like there's like a cardboard cutout of Kevin Costner from a movie, and then there's a picture of Kevin Costner posing with it at one point on the wall.
I think there was a cutout of Kevin Costner at one time, not another one posing with him, but it was just a little overkill. Like if I ever bought a casino, you know what? I'd just be making money and shut the hell up.
If I was Kevin Costner and I had like my Kevin Costner themed casino, I would have a cardboard cutout of me from some movie, and then I'd I'd have it right when they come in, right? And then I'd go to it later and I'd pose with the cardboard cutout. And there would be the picture of me with the cardboard cutout. And then I'd come back later and I'd pose with the picture of me with the cardboard cutout. And just each time, like a picture within a picture. Just picture.
You got a mural soon enough. There's 20
there's-
Bechtloffs upstairs.
Yeah, here's a picture of me holding the picture of me holding the picture of me posing with the cardboard cutout of me.
Looks like the Last Supper. Oh. All right. Well, I'm glad we could talk mall talk and that I don't have to record a podcast tomorrow. So I appreciate it. I'm glad we got that out of it. But yeah, dude, come on out here anytime. You have a free invite anytime. Couch to crash on, and I'll chaperone you off to the different malls out here, and you can say, oh yeah, he was right. It's just a really big mall.
You know, I'm American. I like things really big.
Well, go to Texas. That's go to Houston, go to Dallas. You'll find monster. Everything's big down there, but I don't even think the Mall of America is the biggest one in North America. I think Calgary or Winnipeg has the largest mall now.
Yeah, but that's Canada. Civilized man doesn't live in Canada.
I know it's 8-bit up there. It's 8-bit graphics when you cross the border.
Yeah, nobody goes to Canada.
You ever try and explain how funny that was? You played Stick of Truth, right?
I haven't played it, but I know the part.
Oh my God!
Where it's just like Super Nintendo.
All right, at least you could appreciate the humor. Like, hey, yeah, we went from like whatever bit graphics to 8-bit graphics. When you go to Canada, you know the joke they play.
Yeah.
Okay, so you understand it. Try explaining that to your mom or any female that's never played video games. Like, oh, this is really fucking funny. You don't understand. And like you replay it, like see how the graphics change. Like, God, it's brilliant. So, all right, I'll let you guys
like the bit
go.
in the show when it was follow the only road. There's just one road in Canada that goes in a circle.
That's not too far from the truth. That's how I got to Alaska. So, all right. Well, listen, thanks for having me on, Chris. I appreciate it. I got to get to bed myself. All right.
All right. I'm going to probably wrap this up too. Folks, if you enjoy the show, check out the Patreon, the PayPal, the Amazon wish list, all that good stuff. And I'll be live tomorrow night, kind of tonight, 8 p.m. So, yeah, that's all we got for tonight, folks. I want to thank you all for listening. And Bechtloff out.